The name's Rex. But you'll call me Captain or Sir.
War does not come with a guarantee. No soldier gets the promise of safety.
My designation is Trooper 27-5555, sir.
We call him Fives.
I'm Heavy.
This is Echo. I'm Commander Cody, your new boss.
Sir, yes, sir!
Looks like we got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Look around. We're one and the same. Same heart, same blood. Your training is in your blood. And my blood's boiling for a fight.
This is our home. Any idea this is our war.
This can't be good. We need to pull back. Get on the portals. If we can draw them out, we can see them. If we can see them, we can hit them.
Hello everyone and welcome to Republic Outpost Radio. I am your host, Sean Hussey, and this is our new Star Wars podcast sponsored by the MediaByte. And this is a new weekly podcast that's going to be airing every week on YouTube. And as usual for this podcast, I am joined by my co-host, Nate. How are you doing, Nate?
I'm doing pretty well, my man.
All right, so we kind of wanted to jump in just with a little bit of introduction to ourselves and our experiences with the fandom and with Star Wars. I kind of grew up in the prequel trilogy. Clone Wars was a big part of my introduction to Star Wars. I'm a big fan of the Star Wars animation, and I would say that even though I love the originals and the sequels, I'm kind of a prequelist at heart, and I think the first Star Wars movie I started with A New Hope, which is still one of my favorites today. How about you, Nate?
I started with Star Wars before the prequels, but the prequels were definitely, I got to see those in theaters as a kid, but, nothing for me compares to just, sitting on the couch, when I was a little kid, just seeing Luke and Vader going at it in Return of the Jedi. That's pretty pivotal for me with Star Wars in general, so love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go into a little bit, we're not going to kind of discuss our rankings or anything of Star Wars on this episode, but I figured my favorite Star Wars film is Rogue One. And what about you?
I'm definitely going to double down and say Return of the Jedi. It's probably my favorite.
All right, so that's awesome. Just a little bit of introduction to us, and as we keep going throughout the next couple weeks, we're not always going to be talking about like the latest and greatest Star Wars news. We kind of have the other podcast for breaking down a lot of news in the comic book and film area. This is more of a casual sit-down conversation about Star Wars, things we like, things we don't like in Star Wars. But we figured not a better place to start would be with the Vanity Fair article that released today, Wednesday, May 22nd. And we got a slew of new information surrounding Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. 16 new images were released, a ton of new details, some of which were actually revoked, which we're going to get into a little bit later. But Nate, I'll let you kick off kind of what were your general overall thoughts about the information that came out today, and then we'll kind of jump into the specifics as we move along.
Overall, one of my favorite things about a new Star Wars movie coming out is the Vanity Fair articles. They happen every year for every Star Wars, That's like my favorite piece of media that we get before the movie. So, due to me having a procedure this morning, I had no idea this was going down until after the fact. But holy crap, man, these images are incredible. They're so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we got introduced to a couple new characters that were leaked. I guess we'll kind of just go in order here. We have an article breaking everything down on the MediaByte.com, but we'll just kind of go in order of the article. And we started off with Richard E. Grant's character, who is now confirmed to be playing Allegiant General Pride, someone who is a high-ranking First Order official. We still don't know where that rank falls in terms of like General Hux, whether he's a subordinate or promoted ahead of General Hux. I would assume that this might be Kylo Ren's new replacement for General Hux. Obviously, we've seen in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi that Hux and Kylo have kind of this rivalry, and with Kylo Ren now in power as Supreme Leader, I would see Hux being demoted, and maybe this character, played by Richard E. Grant, kind of taking the reins as the head of the First Order military. I know that some fans thought that Grant would be playing either Grand Admiral Thrawn or possibly the father of General Hux, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Other than that, we didn't learn a ton about the character. Nate, what did you kind of think about Richard E. Grant's new character?
I think he looks awesome, and honestly, like poor Hux. I mean, dude's been shafted from the get-go. Can't beat his scene screaming though. So
yeah, it's tough. I think that Domhnall Gleeson is obviously a very talented actor. I think he was okay in The Force Awakens. Was not a big fan of him in The Last Jedi. We're not going to dive super deep into The Last Jedi debate, but I hope that JJ back in the reins wants to kind of change the character a bit and kind of reintroduce him similar to The Force Awakens, but even kind of tone him down a little bit more, make him more a little serious. It looks like Grant's going to be kind of playing this Grand Moff Tarkin version or replacement character, kind of as the same role or purpose that Tarkin played in, of course, the original Star Wars. But there's not a ton to talk about with Grant's character. Hopefully we get some more details over the next couple months before the movie comes out, and if not, we'll hopefully get a lot about him in the new movie.
I hope we see some good like power struggles between them.
Yeah, that would be really cool, especially since we're hearing rumors that Hux might be starting some form of inner revolt against Kylo Ren, to see where Grant's general pride falls on what side. Should be interesting for sure.
Definitely.
Moving on, we've got Keri Russell's character, who I know you're pretty excited about, Nate. This has been leaked for some time. Things have been speculating, but it's confirmed now thanks to this article that Keri Russell is going to be playing a scoundrel / bounty hunter / smuggler. They weren't very specific on like exactly what kind of role she would have, but that she's part of like the scum and villainy of the galaxy. And her character's name is called Zori Bliss, and she will be a patron of the place called Thieves' Quarter on a new planet called Kijimi, which is a snow-dusted world. Before I jump into the character, I figured, Nate, I'll hand it over to you. What are your impressions of Keri Russell's character, her outfit, what her role might be, all that good stuff?
I mean, first off, the helmet, outrageous. That's so cool. I mean, that's the first thing you see when you look at this image. You just see that helmet, that giant helmet, and then taking a look, looks like double blasters on her, on her thighs there.
Definitely.
Just pretty simple looking costume. Generally, there was like a collar thing, and the helmet, the blasters, some belts, and then the little image of what I'm assuming is the Thieves' Quarter, all around. Snow dusted is definitely what we're seeing here. It looks great. I mean, it's awesome looking. And
yeah, absolutely.
Keri Russell, that's gonna be great, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that the character definitely has some resemblance to Zam Wessel, who we saw in Attack of the Clones. I mean, she just kind of has that purple and gold attire. I don't think there's any actual relation there, but the design overall has some resemblance of that. I hope she's just a straight-up bounty hunter. I don't think we need to play around with the idea that she's a smuggler or a scoundrel. Just make her straight up a bounty hunter. As for her purpose in the film, we've been hearing for a long time that there's sort of this MacGuffin that the main characters are going to be chasing. Maybe also the Kylo Ren, the Knights of Ren, are going to be chasing this MacGuffin as well. Maybe her character plays a part in how they acquire it or the next clue or step. As for the planet Kijimi, I think we did see that in the trailer. There was like a dark planet that looks very similar. I think we saw an A-wing flying through it and crashing. So it's very possible that there's going to be some sort of space action sequence on this planet. And I think we're going to get into it throughout the rest of the episode. But it looks like they're setting the stage for a lot of different action points throughout the movie on a grander scale. But do you have any last thoughts on Keri Russell's character, Nate?
I think I got it pretty much out. I mean, I'm excited to see this. This world's going to look really cool, I think. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that when I see the movie.
Absolutely. Moving on, some quick, small little things in terms of like brand new characters. We did get a ton about Naomi Aki's new character, Jana. That is something that they kind of used at Star Wars Celebration Chicago. They revealed a lot about her at that point. There was not a lot of new information about her in this Vanity Fair article. We did get a new image of her and Finn riding on these Orbat creatures, which you saw in a behind-the-scenes video are horses, but they CGI'd their faces and stuff, which looks really cool. They did a great job with the CGI and practical effects combined on that image. And then we're going to just also combine that with the Aki, who are the people of Pasana, which is a new desert planet. That's from when they filmed in Jordan on Earth, obviously. But these creatures look pretty cool. I don't think they're going to play a massive role. It was really cool they got the people of Jordan to portray these characters in the alien costumes and makeup. Very colorful, just stuff that looks straight out of Star Wars. I want to talk a little bit more about Pasana in general, but I'm going to hand it over to Nate to talk about the Orbaks and the Aki before we move on.
Yeah, one of the best things about this image is the color. We look at the previous images that have come out already. There's a little bit of color here, but none of them are as bright in your face as this is, and it's going to be really nice to see these creatures with their really bright clothing, and especially on what Pasana looks to be, desert-ish, rocky desert. So the colors are definitely going to be a nice contrast to just the overall landscape. And they're cool looking little creatures too. I mean, I say little, but they look like they're going to be tall.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, they look cool. So I'm gonna stick by that for now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting. I'd like to see what planet Jana and Finn are on in this image. There's a strong possibility that this is the same planet that the Death Star is crashed on, whether it be the Death Star 1 or the Death Star 2. I have a feeling it's the Death Star 2. Obviously, Pasana is a different planet. We'll get into that in a sec. But I hope that we're not going to too many locations in this film, because as of right now, we've got at least 3. Kijimi, Pasana, and this third planet, it looks like. There's also been images of like a rebel base on some foresty swamp stuff. That could also just be Endor. We could have there is a strong possibility that we're just seeing a bunch of new parts of Endor in these images, which is really exciting. And maybe we're not on the forest moon of Endor, but we're on the actual planet of Endor. And that's where the Death Star crashed. But that's like a total speculation thing for
I hope so, man.
time.
Either way, we need more Endor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Talking about Pasana a little, it looks, based on how they're setting this up, that this might be the middle location of the film. I believe that they want to end the film on the Death Star 2. We'll get into a little bit more of why I believe that as we move through the images. But I can't believe we're doing another desert planet. If they wanted to do the final climax of the film on a desert planet, Jakku would have been the smart choice, but this is the 5th desert planet we've seen in just the saga films. Previously, we've seen, of course, Tatooine, Jeddah, Geonosis, Jakku, and now this would be the 5th desert planet in the 11th films, which seems a little excessive, but obviously they really want to utilize the practical effects of like the Jordanian desert and where other places that George Lucas has filmed. So obviously, it's a great thing that we want to use practical effects, but I don't understand why we didn't just go back to Jakku. Hopefully they explain that pretty well in the movie. But if the final battle will take place on Endor as opposed to Jakku, I'm more forgiving. And we're going to even talk more about Pasana as we go through, because there's a lot in this article about the practical effects that they shot in Jordan, including some very cool characters we're about to get into in a second. But in the meantime, before we get into that, Nate, is there any last final thoughts on these characters, the desert planets, anything like that?
I mean, there's anything that goes together, it's Star Wars and desert planets. So.
Absolutely. So moving on from new characters to returning characters, we finally, thanks to a really nice image from Vanity Fair, we do have confirmation now that the Knights of Ren are in fact returning. This is something that leaked a little while ago, but now we have official confirmation. I've gone into some speculation and theories before on the ABCN show with Josh and Zane about where I think the Knights of Ren have been, what I think they're up to. I'll get into those in a minute, but we do see the Knights of Ren. We see that they do not have Force weapons, as far as we could tell, no lightsabers. If they are Force sensitive, that means that they don't have lightsabers, and it offers a new type of Force user that doesn't use a lightsaber, which is really interesting. From the image, it looks like there are 6 of them, which lines up with concept art from The Force Awakens, although the Vanity Fair article does tease that we do not know their true number, or they would at least not confirm their true number. So before I get into like some heavy speculation, Nate, what are your thoughts about the Knights of Ren being back in Episode 9?
I mean, it's about freaking time, man. I've been waiting for the Knights of Ren since The Force Awakens, and, you know, we're getting it, and they look incredible. I mean, one dude looks like a samurai in the back, you know? Another one's got, like, freaking massive helmet with just little slits for eyes. Like, they're insane looking. And dude's got, like, a machine gun on his arm, it looks like. I don't know, it's crazy.
It's really exciting.
It looks so cool. And
I really hope that Dominic Moynihan is playing one of them. Matt Smith was also rumored to be playing one of them, although Matt Smith came out in an article or in an interview and said he was not in the film at all. Whether that was just him playing coy, I mean, he'd straight up be lying. But either way, it remains to be seen whether or not he's in the film or not. As for some heavy speculation time, I guess, we could talk a little bit about where we think the Knights of Ren are, and I think that it really ties back to Palpatine, because my theory is that some point before The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren sort of disconnected from the Knights of Ren, or Snoke sent them off on their own mission. I have a funny feeling that Snoke was the one who sent them off, and that Kylo Ren just didn't need them by his side anymore. And that Snoke, because he had seen the rise of the Republic all the way up to the fall of the Empire, and then, of course, the rise of the First Order, had some sort of connection to Palpatine. And we know from a lot of the expanded universe material, not meaning legends, just in canon, other things like books, comics, video games, stuff that is canon. We know that Palpatine was exploring a lot of ways to cheat death. We know that the Sith have always been trying to cheat death because they don't really have a way to manifest themselves post-death like the Jedi do with the Force Ghost ability. We know that there have been helmets that can contain Sith sort of essences. We saw that in the Darth Vader comic. We've seen in other children's books that dark side users can kind of consume an area and sort of rest over it with their essence. Whether they're going to do that with Palpatine and the Death Star 2 remains to be seen. But I think that Snoke sent the Knights of Ren off to the outer reaches of the galaxy, to the Outer Rim, to the unknown regions outside of what we know in Star Wars, to start looking for this MacGuffin that our main characters are going to be chasing throughout the movie that will ultimately bring Palpatine back to life. And this is without Kylo's permission, and this was something that they were doing for Snoke only, and once Kylo catches wind of it, he's not going to be happy, but by that point it'll be too late, and Palpatine will return, forcing Kylo to turn to the light side and fight with Rey in order to stop him, because they did tease that a lot of what this story also does is kind of bring the culmination of the battle between the Jedi and the Sith. So Nate, what do you think about that theory? Do you think I'm making bullshit up, or do you think, maybe I got something going on here?
No, I think you're definitely onto something. It's pretty solid. It's what, I mean, you put your ducks in a row, that's what makes sense. You know what I mean? My only little pet theory is, Snoke calls Kylo the leader of the Knights of Ren, So I almost wonder if just Kylo used them, then dismissed them, and they've just maybe been off somewhere making away, and then now all of a sudden, maybe Kylo's the one that called for them to go after and search for the MacGuffin. Just some food for thought, maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that idea as well. Although it doesn't seem like Kylo Ren would be the type of person to want to do that. His whole idea was to finish his grandfather's mission. I don't know if he thinks he needs Palpatine to do that or not. But I think that that's definitely a possibility. I think that it's kind of a flip of a coin. It depends how much JJ had planned for Snoke and how much, JJ wants to incorporate Snoke and Snoke's death into Episode 9.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey man, the theories.
Absolutely. So we're going to brush briefly by the image of Luke Skywalker that we got, mostly because I just think that this was an image that they kind of took for the Vanity Fair article. I think that image of Luke is what he looks like in his Force Ghost form. He's obviously missing the blue glow, but I don't really think that that's an image from the movie. I just am assuming that was something they wanted to take a picture of for the Vanity Fair article. I just don't think that there's a lot behind that image opposed to some of the other ones that they took that we've seen. Nate, do you disagree? Do you think that that's important? Do you think that it's a flashback?
It's probably just another flashback image of Kylo's, betrayal.
He looks different, though.
He does look a bit different. I'd say the main thing that I've noticed is the hand. I can't tell if that's a glove, burnt skin, even though, that's his robot hand, right? Or is it the other hand?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
That's his robot hand.
So, either way, something about that hand looks fishy to me. So, we'll see what that means at some point. I couldn't tell you anything just based on some fire R2 and a burnt-looking hand.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think that there's too much behind it, but there could definitely be something behind it. I think it is a glove. It is hard to tell. Yeah. I think that they want us to think that it's a flashback, but it might not be. It also looks like they're on some sort of foresty green, whether that be like Octo, or maybe it is Endor. Maybe Luke is visiting Rey or Kylo on Endor as a Force Ghost. That remains to be seen, but we just wanted to touch on that because obviously Luke Skywalker is an important part of the entire Star Wars saga, and although we didn't get a lot of information about him in this article, I figured it'd be important to share. The next image is probably the most important one of the entire just set of them, and it is Rey and Kylo Ren in what they describe as their another duel between the two of them, although I don't know how true that is. And they appear to be fighting on some sort of man-made structure with water. Some people have speculated that this is the Death Star 2. There's a lot of concept art we of course saw in the Rise of Skywalker trailer that the Death Star appears to be submerged underwater. So there's a strong possibility that they are fighting on the Death Star. There was also a lot of concept art from The Force Awakens that the Millennium Falcon would have the ability to go underwater. It looks kind of like the Falcon to me. I mean, I know that seems kind of crazy, but I think that it will be really symbolic and really powerful if the Falcon is sort of flying around through the Death Star ruins and Rey and Kylo Ren are fighting on it during this final battle. The question is this even the final battle? Is that something that they want to reveal? Where does this take place really in terms of when the movie is? Is this just something else that they set up to kind of mess with our expectations? Some things that we did get from that article as well are that the Force connection, it will turn out to run even deeper than we thought, whether that's through Palpatine's influence or maybe just the Force. That seems super interesting. And we did learn that Rey's training is almost complete thanks to Luke's sacred books, and this film will bring a climax to the millennia-long conflict between the Jedi Order and the Sith, which I previously alluded to. Other than that, I mean, I just did a ton of talking. Nate, come back at me. What are you thinking about this image?
I hope it's the Millennium Falcon that they're on. At the same time, though, the picture looks incredible. Their poses seem a little awkward. Makes me think maybe it's not. It's some misdirection. You know, I'm thinking maybe they're both in the same area, but I don't necessarily know that they're fighting. It looks a little weird for two people fighting, if you ask me. But
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, it's a cool image. A lot of water. I mean, man, that shot's gonna look great.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really talented people behind this. Not only JJ, but the cinematographer. Chris Terrio is writing, so expect some really great dialogue as well. There's just so much speculation that could be had in terms of what this could be.
Right.
I'm really interested to see where this could go. But I think that without going too much into the speculation train, we could probably circle back on it if we want after we finish through the rest of this, because we're doing pretty good on time. So do you want to move on to the other story details, Nate?
Sure. I want to say one more thing about this image.
Sure.
And I really hope they do not miss out on the opportunity to have like a unique sizzle sound for water hitting the lightsaber and like steam. Like I want to see some steam coming from those blades as they're getting wet.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that in The Force Awakens with the snow, and then there was the sequence in the rain in Rey's vision. We definitely saw the steam in The Force Awakens. I don't know about the sizzle noise, I can't remember, but that would definitely be cool. We know that Kit Fisto in the Clone Wars, not the new show, but the older one, developed, and this is still canon, developed a lightsaber that can fight underwater that then kind of became practice for all lightsabers, so they could all fight underwater. I don't think we're going to be seeing them fight underwater, but it's just something to note.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving on to the other story details, we did get a bunch of images. The next one we're looking at is the one of Lando, Chewbacca, Poe, BB-8, and Dio, who's the new droid, within the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. We didn't get a ton of story details really about any of these characters. We know that Poe Dameron is going to be rising to leadership in the recently decimated Resistance. We also got some teases to this on the Road to the Rise of Skywalker book line that's going to be coming out. I can't remember the exact title of the book, but I believe it's called Resistance Rising or something like that. And that's going to have a heavy focus on Poe kind of taking over, unfortunately, because of the passing of Carrie Fisher. Poe is going to be taking a much larger role in the Resistance, which was always his story arc, but that had to be sort of escalated a little bit more quickly due to her untimely passing. Again, we didn't get any details on Lando, Dio, or Chewbacca, really. We know that Chewbacca, Poe, Rey, and Finn, and C-3PO, and BB-8, and a bunch of other people are going to be together for the most part throughout the film, which is really exciting. It's kind of the first time that's happened in a Star Wars film. Basically, all through the saga, our main set of like 3 have been split up to some extent throughout all of the films. So it's good to see them back together to kind of change pace. How Lando plays into it still remains to be seen. If Jannah is in fact his daughter, there is a possibility that he plays in there. I think that he'll definitely be helping out greatly with the Resistance by this point, by the time the film starts. Maybe even he'll have his own droid army as teased in Solo, and then in the book Last Shot, which focuses on him and Han Solo. What do you think? What do you like about this image, Nate? I know I'm doing a lot of the talking. I feel bad.
Oh, it's all good, man. All I need to say is it is about damn time they brought back Lando. About damn time. I am so happy. When I saw the trailer for the first time and he was in there, man, I cried tears. Tears. Yeah. It was incredible. It was so good. Finally. So, this image I think is great. I mean, it's the Millennium Falcon. It's Lando. It's Chewie. And then you got Poe, BB, and Dio. I really like Dio's look, so we'll see how the droids go. But I mean, this image, it's awesome. It's what I wanted for a long time, or more images like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been common fashion too. I don't remember one from The Last Jedi, but I'm sure there is one of these Vanity Fair Millennium Falcon cockpit shots. The Force Awakens one is still the background on my iPad. I just love that shot. Yeah, they're really great shots. And the photographer, there's a lot about the photographer and the author of this article on Vanity Fair's website, as well as a bunch of behind the scenes clips. Really talented photographer. I'm kind of blanking on her name right now. Yeah, but all of these images are just stunning. The writing on this article was fantastic. Just really, really great stuff all around. We of course have C-3PO as well. And it appears that, based not only on leaks but trailer footage and information from this article, that C-3PO will be taking a more prominent role in the action in this film. He's, of course, Anthony Daniels being the only actor to be in all 9 of the saga films, and I believe he's been in all 11 films now, because I do believe he provided the voice of a Kessel miner in Solo, so that makes him the only actor to appear in all of the theatrical release Star Wars movies. But it appears that C-3PO is back in all gold. That's important to note. He's got no red arms, no silver legs. He is 100% gold. And we saw in the leaked poster that came out back in March that he was wielding a crossbow, and Daniel's comments about C-3PO stepping up to act as a strong link to the original trilogy, as well as his role, quote, surprising everyone. Anthony Daniels said that. So maybe we'll see C-3PO in on the action. It's been kind of this recurring thread with JJ and his Star Wars films about Chewbacca's blaster. It was a big deal in The Force Awakens with Han Solo, and now with C-3PO as well, it appears. I'm going to just combine the next 2 images, or the next 2 or 3. It's just more of stuff on the desert planet of Pansana, and looks like that speeder bike chase that we now know Chewbacca, BB-8, and Rey will also be a part of, thus confirming again that the main characters will be sticking together throughout the majority of the film. I would say that Pansana is like the middle of the film. You'd probably get to meet Zori early on, and then it kind of culminates with the battle on the Death Star 2. But what are your thoughts on like these 3 images, Nate? Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, these action sequences, all that good stuff.
The speeder bike segment, I mean, in the trailer, that part looked really cool, and then seeing these behind the scenes pictures, I mean, it's just awesome how they rigged that machine together, and it looks great. And then Anthony Daniels back in all gold, C-3PO back in all gold is good. You know, I don't really have much more to say about that. It all looks excellent. I mean, they really picked some good images.
Yeah, absolutely. We did just get a lot of behind the scenes stuff from the other images. We did get a really nice image of John Williams composing the score, with another image of Carrie Fisher as General Organa on some sort of foresty planet, swamp planet, whether that be Endor, Yavin 4, any number of places remains to be seen. And then, of course, we have the covers with Rey and Kylo Ren, which I don't know if it was the author or the photographer, I don't know who it was. Somebody from Vanity Fair tweeted out that there is a hidden connection between the 2 of these posters that she wonders if anyone will figure out before the film releases. And just a quick look on them, it looks like Kylo Ren's is the sunset and Rey's is the sunrise. And when you put them together, it kind of looks like setting to rising, which I think is probably what they were talking about. But what are your thoughts overall, Nate, on these other images? It's a lot of technical camera stuff, but then we've got John Williams, of course, and the 2 covers.
The covers look incredible. I mean, the camera work, you know, all that stuff. If that's your fancy, I'm sure it's super fascinating. I think it's just neat to see some behind the scenes stuff. John Williams is a legend, and I hope we get a nice little theme, something a little special for Carrie Fisher, which is why I'm hoping that her image is on that projector. The covers look great. I think you're spot on with the sunset and sunrise. I can't wait to pick these up. I just gotta find them.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see where that falls in terms of the film, stuff like that. So we've got a little bit of time left. Is there anything surrounding Episode 9, Star Wars, anything of that sort that you wanted to kind of touch on, Nate? And literally could be anything. We're going to just spitball it from here. There's a lot to talk about with Episode 9, but of course we could kind of delve into other areas of Star Wars based on news or anything of that sort.
Yeah, I have heard a rumor of talks happening with Knights of the Old Republic, which is something that I think we need in the gaming community. Not a whole lot there, other than I guess they're aware that we do want more Knights of the Old Republic. I don't know how you feel about that, but those games are incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. It came out a couple weeks ago that Kathleen Kennedy said that there was something in development regarding the Knights of the Old Republic. Although I don't think that she was specifically referencing the Knights of the Old Republic. I think she misspoke. She was rather referring to more of the Old Republic era. I don't think they're going to be adapting any sort of Knights of the Old Republic stories into canon right now. And if there are any connections to that, they'll be loose at best. We also found out that, of course, the next film for the Star Wars saga after Episode 9 will not come out for another 3 years until December 2022, and that will be the first film in the David Benioff and Weiss series of films, which has been speculated forever to be about the Old Republic. So I think that that's a good direction for Star Wars to head. I think heading post Episode 9 is probably not within their best interest. They've been saying that Rian Johnson and Benioff and Weiss have been working very closely together on their projects. There's been a lot of rumors that Johnson's trilogy has now been canceled because it doesn't look like there's any release date set up for it, and that he's kind of moved over to a producer role on their series. However, I don't think that Rian Johnson's trilogy is gone just yet. But as of where that takes place and when it releases has yet to be seen. I hope that we don't move to a Star Wars movie every other year, especially, and if we do, because that's the way it's kind of looking right now, I hope that they're not alternating trilogies so that it's like every 4 years that we get a sequel to a trilogy. If you're going to do 2 trilogies at once, put them kind of how they've been doing it every other year with them kind of offsetting each year. It would just be far too sparse to have like David Benioff and Weiss's come out in 2022, then Rian Johnson's in 2024, and then not having the next Benioff and Weiss film come out till 2026. That's just far too long of a gap. The audience will get uninterested. It's not the early 2000s or the 80s anymore, 70s, 80s, when you could wait 3 or 4 years for a sequel and still be really excited about it. Obviously, Star Wars is eternal anyway, but I think that your smart move is to really keep pumping out content after that 3-year gap is done, if you really are going to wait 3 years before releasing another film.
Yeah, I think that gap's going to be necessary, and I think that it'll allow room for hopefully more TV stuff. I mean, we got The Mandalorian coming up. I hope maybe we get another show after, or, multiple new shows. Anything, but I think the gap's going to be pretty important. I know a lot of people are feeling some Star Wars fatigue leading into this one. So, yeah, 3-year gap year. It's a good call, I think, and then reassess where the franchise is at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that having the TV series will help in between, especially for the hardcore fans. But honestly, even that gap between Solo and Episode 9 has been pretty tough. And I know we haven't had a ton of content like we will with the next couple of years of TV shows, but waiting that 3 years is going to be hard. I mean, I'm going into college, and I'm not going to be able to see another Star Wars movie until almost when I graduate, which seems really strange. But I guess that's how you guys did it when you guys were kids, and that's how it'll have to be, I suppose. Other than that, I mean, we've got a lot of content on the horizon. I don't want to kind of blow the load too early and kind of jump into everything. But if you've got any other points, Nate, feel free to bring them up. If not, we'll start wrapping the thing up.
Yeah, I got nothing else really. Video game stuff, Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order is on the horizon. But other than that, I think we're sitting pretty for tonight.
Absolutely. So that'll kind of do it then for us, guys. We ended a little bit earlier than our podcast episodes probably usually will be. As I was mentioned earlier in the beginning of the episode, we kind of are going to try to do things that are a little more sit down and conversational instead of just straight up news breakdowns each week. But we thought this would be a great place to start with the amount of episode 9 information that came out. But if you guys have any suggestions for what kind of Star Wars content you want us to cover, any topic ideas, discussions, debates, rankings, lists, any of that kind of fun stuff, feel free to let us know. Nate and I will do a ton of thinking on our own as well, but we'd be more than happy to hear from you guys as well. And we'll start wrapping up. So Nate, where can the people find you online?
Twitter and Instagram, at The Drunken Dragon, I believe. And then Twitch, eventually I'll start streaming back on Twitch again. But, yeah, Twitter and Instagram mostly.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RealSeanHussey. Links to all of our social media will be in the description. Please make sure to check out the MediaByte as well. That is our sort of podcast and website center that we do all this stuff for. On social media at the MediaByte. Our website, themediabyte.com. We have daily editorials going up starting this Saturday. So make sure to check those all out as well. We just published, of course, that breakdown of the Vanity Fair Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker article. So you can feel free to go check that out, and as well check out some of our older editorials and news pieces. We also post a lot of exclusives in the Marvel and DC realm as well. That'll do it for us for this podcast episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening, watching, however you may be consuming our content, and may the Force be with you.